of 2021.
Next week when the Steelers play the Browns again, they'll have quarterback Ben Raffensperger.
Oh, yeah.
Is it the same guy?
Same guy. It's the brother of the guy. You ever heard Trump talk about Raffensperger's fictitious brother, have you? You haven't really? He stopped talking about that, didn't he?
You know what he also stopped talking about?
What's that?
The 1917 virus.
Well, that only took 8 months for him to stop fucking that up.
I know, but once it stopped,
once you pop. Well, hey, first of all,
so
like he said,
who says he doesn't listen to other people?
Well, first of all, like he said, after November the 3rd, we stopped talking about that virus. That's exactly what he said would happen.
True. It did go, well, it went away.
Yeah. That's exactly right. You won't hear about it. I just shared. So.
Okay.
Ready when you are, sir.
Off we go. Yeah, I just made it here in time, by the way.
Did you?
Yeah, because I was doing a compressed Costco Walmart run ahead of T-Berry's surgery tomorrow. Because once he comes home, we're stuck here babysitting him nonstop.
Well, good for you. I'm glad you got it done.
And I was in such a hurry, I forgot to wear a mask.
Oh.
People were staring at me, and I said, "Listen, I'm in a hurry. I don't have time for."
Do you know who I am?
Everybody was so nice about it. They were really nice.
And the ones who weren't, you just coughed on them. Shut up.
Yeah, I said if it was you, it wouldn't bother me. So
exactly.
But people have really adjusted well, even when someone,
That's the headline here in 2021.
Yeah. Okay.
Ready.
Let me adjust the little thing. There we go. Okay. The Brad and Britt cast is underway. Our first one for this week, this year, all that stuff. And we're glad you are with us, whether you're live here in the 1:30 hour Eastern time. This is the fourth. I forgot to flip my calendar there.
Don't forget to flip your calendar as we do
our. It says December up there.
It's the first one of 2021 for us and the fourth day of 2021. Yeah. That's how that works.
Yeah. Okay. And where do you want to start?
Well, I got this tweet from Monica Lewinsky that just came out. I'm generally opposed to someone being surreptitiously taped on a phone call, but not this one, folks. I don't know what she means. What is she talking about? Why would she say such a thing?
Well, obviously we know what she's referring to. And
yes.
But my first question Sunday, when I heard this was, well, how did the Washington Post get the recording, or as people living in 1963 said, the tape?
The tape, right. Thank you, Nixon.
Yeah. And it became evident, and now it's obvious that Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State of Georgia, let it go. And he had said earlier in the day, I guess in a tweet, you're going to find out the truth.
Yeah.
That was a foreshadowing.
Yeah.
And he says that the reason he taped or videoed or audioed or recorded or digitized the call was because he realized that, and everyone knows this, Trump would lie about everything that was said if there was
Correct.
No actual record. And number two, he's still pissed from the Lindsey Graham phone call.
Yeah.
Right after the election. Remember that one?
I do.
The one that Lindsey Graham really should have been kicked out of the Senate for. He should be charged with tampering with elections the same way Trump should be tampering with the federal election machine.
What was his excuse? Wasn't it neighboring state privileges or some bullshit like that? Wasn't that Lindsey Graham's thought on that?
Right. All right. So Raffensperger, very smartly, obviously on advice of his lawyer who was sitting right there with him, recorded everything, and obviously good for him. The only way you got John Gotti, okay, is because there were tapes of him. There were recordings of him doing a lot of different things. That I think that helped bring him down. And we live in a world now where we don't believe anything that anyone says about anything. So you have to have the actual evidence. So I said to Jane as soon as I heard it, well, guess what's going to happen the rest of the day and forever now? The crisis, the egregious violation of law here will not be what Trump was doing, not trying to steal the election. It was that we heard what he was doing, that the recording was made. That how unfair of us to know about that. So Monica Lewinsky, fine. But and Trump clearly didn't know and was too stupid. Again, too stupid.
Yeah, how do you not know? How do you not know that somebody's going to do that, to record you? You got to be out of your mind. And how does and you're surrounded by some people who are allegedly lawyers. How are they not going to say, you know what, we might be recorded during this thing?
Were any of Trump's lawyers, was that Pat Cipollone guy in the room?
No, but there were people there with law degrees.
Not a lawyer.
But there are people with law degree. There are people with law degrees in that room, Brad. That Colita woman, whoever the hell she is, she went to law school and she has a JD from somewhere. Well, and they passed the. I don't know if they passed the bar, but they have degrees. Somebody should have known.
I'm sorry, Britt. I hate to disagree with you, but having a law degree, even from Harvard or Stanford, now does not confer any degree of intelligence. It does not confer any degree of expertise, apparently, on the law. It means nothing right now. It means nothing. I mean, you've heard it ad nauseum for the last day now. Ted Cruz went to Harvard. He was number one in his class. He knows better. It's not the issue anymore. It's not the issue of whether there was a lawyer.
But there should have. I mean, any attorney would have said, you know, you might be recorded on this, and we probably should make sure that that's not happening.
Any attorney wouldn't have said that.
And then they would have said, we don't give our permission, and if you record this, then you're not. And then they would have had to stop, I suppose.
That's right. That's right. So the fact that nobody was smart enough to think of that.
Exactly. Her name is Cleta Mitchell, by the way. Her JD is from the University of Oklahoma, and she was there, and nobody knew she was part of any team at all. And she's not the president's lawyer of record. That was made clear by Mark Meadows. Have you actually listened to the recording? Because I've listened to it approximately 1.5 times.
The whole thing?
Yes, the entire thing.
Boy,
but there's shit in there that will blow your mind, and if you're just reading the recaps, you're not getting the entire story. There's some really good shit in there that's hiding in the crevices. It's quite remarkable. At one point, the Ryan Germany guy, who is the attorney for Raffensperger, Trump goes, "And your attorney there, Ryan, that's a really good last name you have there, Ryan." That's what he says to him. He says that about at the 40-something minute mark. He accuses at one point, I think this is in Fulton County, Trump accuses them of shredding 3,000 pounds of ballots. Not 3,000 ballots, 3,000 pounds. That's 1.5 tons for those of you that are not able to do the conversion. I urge anybody, put it as you go to sleep tonight. Go ahead and listen to it. It will permeate your brain, and it will hurt you to listen to this recording of Donald John Trump talking to Brad Raffensperger over the weekend. My understanding was that Raffensperger said to his people, "We're not going to release this unless the president attacks us." Guess what happened in a tweet over the weekend, Brad? Guess what spontaneously happened without any prodding from anybody whatsoever, Brad?
The conversation occurred on Saturday.
Correct.
And, you know, they were holding on to that as just
insurance
in case break glass and release tape. And I believe Trump on Saturday had attacked him, right? Later in the day, as soon as he got off the phone.
That's right.
Attacked him. Yeah. Okay. Well, fine.
So I think Michael Cohen and James Comey have both said the same thing. If you don't record him, you don't have any proof that he's going to lie to you because he will lie to you. I think they both, it's a similar thing with Raffensperger. They both figured out if you don't record this guy, he's going to lie about what you said and you'll have nothing. You'll have nothing to defend yourself. And Raffensperger, he recorded the entire thing. And it really is a mind-blowing conversation. It really is a stream of consciousness in which he tries to bully Raffensperger. He tries to insult him. He flatters him just a little bit. He talks about how Stacey Abrams is walking around making fun. They're laughing at you. This black woman is laughing at your ass. How, as a white man, does that make you feel? I mean, that's essentially what he's saying.
Right. I mean, I've heard a lot of those segments. Now, here's the question. We're at January 4th, 16 days to go. If anyone now has a conversation with Donald Trump at all on the phone or even in person, who is not Mark Meadows or someone like that, someone who's left in his inner circle, the crazy ass, half-ass lawyers who still talk to him, everyone is going to be asked the question, I would think, by Donald Trump, who should have learned the lesson years ago. Are you recording this conversation? And if they say yes, well, then Trump won't have the conversation with you. If you say no and you're lying, then Trump will be more free, he'll think, to speak, but you may still be recording it. And then what? If you say to someone, I'm not recording this, but you actually are you in trouble at any level, especially if you're in one of these situations where it's, just one party has to know that the conversation is being recorded? I know you don't know the exact answer to that, but it just sets this little thing up over the next 16 days as he continues to obstruct justice, try to destroy democracy, wreck the election system of the United States. The phrase shred the Constitution does not do justice to the shredder that I have in the back of this room right now. That would be an insult. He can't really talk to anyone. Can he?
I don't think so. I would hope not. And I understand Raffensperger
I don't feel sorry for him.
No, yeah, it's so sad that people are piling on. Raffensperger has called a press conference for after we stop recording, so there's going to be even more interesting stuff that's coming out of this thing. So yeah, I don't think he can. At one point, I mean, there's so much crap that goes on in that thing, and he's just telling Raffensperger that he's a joke and he's never going to be anything. And he's essentially telling Raffensperger's lawyer, "Hey, you guys are opening yourselves up to criminal charges. If you don't do what I tell you to do, you're opening yourselves." It's a huge.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, that worked.
It's a huge problem for you guys. And at some point, Raffensperger goes to the president. He goes, the thing about social media is you can just say anything. And Trump goes, no, it's not social media. It's Trump media. It's Trump media. He calls it Trump media. He goes, I could not care less about social media. This is Trump media.
Yeah, if you don't break the law on my orders, then you are in trouble, right? That's the I'm looking at some nuggets here. Apparently, they tried to call him. Trump tried to call Raffensperger 18 times before Raffensperger, and that probably was so that Raffensperger could get it set up so that he could record the call. So. You don't want to just pick up the phone and on the other end is Trump, because you just can't start recording on most phones. You need a system set up there. So good for him.
I think at the end, Meadows tries to zip up the meeting and go, okay, I think what we've agreed to here is that you guys are going to sit down and look over this information, and we're going to try to see if we can get a new kid. And then I think Ryan Germany goes, we haven't agreed to that at all. We didn't agree to this in any way, shape, or form. So it's absolutely, there's no possible way you could even script this sort of thing. There's just no way. The whole thing is just madness. And we don't know. I mean, there's all sorts of recriminations that possibly he broke George. The thing that I've seen is attorneys saying, well, he may have done something illegal, but it's going to be really hard to pursue charges. And these are real honest to God, legitimate attorneys.
Right. We know that, but just think, this is part or a new little piece of what is, we know, driving Trump to hang on as president, which is he does not want to have to face the law, the long arm of the law. And we already know that the chances that he's going to have to face the long arm of the law for things he's done as president are not quite as likely as all the things that piled up from the previous 40 years that they're going to go get him for. So, is this outrageous? Is this a breaking of the law? Should he be impeached over this? Of course he should.
Yeah, he should.
Should Republican members of Congress, should Mitch McConnell get in his scooter? Is he in the scooter yet? Can he still walk?
No, he ordered it from Walmart. It hasn't been delivered yet.
That's the cross line when you're really old in Congress, or you can't fucking walk anymore.
Oh yeah,
you're doing the scooter.
So you're thinking of Jesse Helms did that for several years after.
Yeah.
I don't even know if Strom third. Well, they're very long hallways. You have to walk very long distances.
But anyway, I mean, clearly we're past the point where they should have walked into his office and said, "Get out, resign now." Now, I want to turn this into "It's all about us" for just a moment here.
Please.
Okay. Here's the "It's all about us," but not really. In a lot of jobs, and this happened to us just 6 years ago, where there was a demarcation line, a day that we knew it was our last day on the air on WBT in Charlotte. We had a contract. It ended June something, right? Whatever it was. And we were obligated to work and do the radio show all the way up until the last day. We're fine with doing that, and we behaved ourselves, and we didn't break any constitutional laws. We didn't break any Charlotte laws. We didn't break any North Carolina laws.
We behaved ourselves till you started mouthing off to the Charlotte paper there. That was
that. Hang on, you're ruining the story. You're just fucking ruining the story. No, you're ruining the story. You just say it right now. I just ruined the story.
I just ruined the story.
Okay. Now, we were fine. That all the way up till the end, except 2 days before the end.
Yeah,
I get a phone call, and we were told that we didn't need to appear for the last 2 days. They were afraid we were going to do something. We were going to say something. And in a lot of jobs, sometimes they'll ask you to clear out your desk, put your shit in a box, put it out on the street, and do that. With Donald Trump, he's definitely to the point where the U.S. Senate leaders should walk in to the office and say, "We know you have until the 20th of January, but you need to resign right now, at this moment. Get out right now." Now, he might do it. He might not be as patriotic as Nixon. Think about that sentence. Donald Trump, not as patriotic as Nixon. But it's the fact that they're going to hang with him all the way to the end.
Oh, they're not going to hang with him.
They're hanging with him. They're hanging with him.
They're not only hanging with him. They're trying to subvert the will of the people. I mean, they're rushing to hang with him. The ones that are sticking with him, the Ted Cruzes, the Lindsey Grahams, all of those idiots who are going to sign on and do this shit for him.
Right. You are factually correct. Several days after we were done at WBT, I spoke to the Charlotte Observer and trashed the management.
Yeah.
And spoke the truth about the radio station.
Made them very, very upset.
Just Google my name with WBT. You'll see the article come. It's still there.
I think it's still there. Krantz trashes WBT management on the way out, or something like that is the headline. I believe that's what it is.
This would be the definition. I wouldn't change a thing about it.
No,
I wouldn't. And by the way,
oh no, wait, hang on.
I was only about 1/3 right. It was worse than I said, and it is worse now.
It is.
And I should have copyrighted that phrase, right-wing sewer.
It would have been yours. You could have sold T-shirts and everything.
That's what radio is. I guess.
So yeah, it's the Gang of 11 that are trying to subvert the will of the people and kill democracy for the Republican Party are lining up to challenge those electoral college results when everything is gavelled in here in a couple days. Brad, how do you feel about the brave 11 Republican senators who are dying to jump over the cliff with Donald John Trump and dispute these electoral results?
I thought it was 12.
We're up to 12 now. It was 11, and somebody else was started
12.
So I thought it was 11, but now it's 12. Whatever it is, it's a ridiculous number. It shouldn't be one. And they're dying to jump on board for Donald John Trump and do his bidding when the Senate
they're not dying to get on board with Donald Trump. They're dying to own the Donald Trump base lane for 2024. They think that the only way to the nomination, most of those guys who all see themselves as president, is to maintain the fiction and create a century and a half after the Civil War and the famous lost cause, a new lost cause. This is the new Confederate lost cause. This is the new stab in the back to Donald Trump and his supporters, that they were denied a second term, that the world was unfairly denied a second term by the cheating of the Democratic Party. By the way, the most impressive conspiracy in world history to get everyone and everything to swing just enough in several of these states over to Joe Biden and not touch any of the other races that Republicans were winning. Okay, because remember, you're arguing against yourself if you're in these states that Joe Biden won the presidential race, but you got reelected as a senator or you got reelected to the House. So they surgically went in there. That would be the charge, and made all these changes to the ballots, which of course is not true. And if it is true, then your reelection is a fraud also. So I'm waiting for the first Republican who won reelection to say my reelection was a fraud, and I'm willing to give up. I'm willing to give up my duly elected position as a senator or a congressman or a state senator or a governor or whoever made it in at the next level on the ticket. Donald Trump didn't win, but these people all won, and of course they don't want to talk about that, obviously, clearly, and it's as bad as it gets, and it's worse than I thought it would ever be. It's the old, you couldn't make up what's going on. I find one interesting sidelight though, one outlier. Tom Cotton of Arkansas says, I'm not in. I will not participate in this.
And he's been attacked by the president for this.
Right. And clearly, on paper, he would have gone along with all those other guys, the Ted Cruz's of the world and people like that. Lindsey Graham and Tom Cotton. Lindsey Graham's not running for president. Tom Cotton wants to be president. So he sees something that the others don't. He is seeing that when the smoke clears, when Trump is ex-president, when the people who've supported him have to find something else to do besides buy MAGA merchandise, that they have to actually look forward to something in their life besides risking that life at a rally for Donald Trump, whose clown show is coming to town next Thursday at some local arena, that it will stand better, Tom Cotton believes, for him to not be one of those crowd that was tagged with trying to overturn the will of the American people. And by the way, I hate the following word. I hate the word disenfranchise. All right. People do not speak that word in normal life. They don't. It's a non-existent word. All right. Most people think, a franchise is the New York Yankees. Okay. Or a McDonald's. Okay. They do not consider the word franchise associated with voting and voting rights, except in constitutional law classes and places. And it's used, I think it's overused. My opinion, simplify the language. It's voter suppression, taking away people's right to vote. It's not disenfranchising certain members of the community. Stop saying it that way. Just my opinion, not a consultant, don't have the gig, just trying to notice things that I hear. People say things like that because they hear other people say it, and it just carries on too much. But
during that actual call in the recording, the president refers to somebody known as Ruby Freeman. Now, this name was bleeped out of at least one version of that call that I heard. Are you familiar with the Ruby Freeman conspiracy theories that the president has let seeped into his tiny little brain?
Well, I know Bobby Freeman did the song "The Swim."
That's right, and he was
Everybody
very popular.
Come on in, right? Huge hit, right?
Ruby Freeman apparently was not even a person. It's an Instagram account that was supposedly linking to some fraud in Georgia. He mentions it several times because
is this like a made up Twitter
it
account
is
kind of
it
thing?
is. It was a thing, and he just kept saying over and over again, if you look at this Ruby Freeman, it's all over the internet. She's a scammer, Ruby Freeman. And he says it at least 5 or 6 times during the call. And again, on the one version I heard where the name was bleeped out because I guess they didn't want to get sued by someone who has a similar name, it sounded like he was cursing a lot because they would bleep it every 3 seconds because he's got Tourette's.
I was wondering, I did hear the part of the recording where some name got bleeped out over and over.
Yes.
And I was saying, well, I wonder who that is.
That's Ruby Freeman. It's a fake name and it was a fake account, but people bought it.
Why would you bleep out that?
Well, I think they were like, if somebody named Ruby Freeman starts getting phone calls and getting harassed, then they're going to like come back to us saying it was our fault for publishing this. So we're at least going to take a modicum. You know, the lawyers get involved at some level in the media. They go, let's just bleep it out. We'll make it easier for ourselves so that somebody who has a similar name. There's probably some woman in Ruby Freeman, you know, in stupid Light-a-Fart, Texas, who's getting all these calls about how she stole the election and she's, you know, a socialist who he was Hugo Chavez's lover. So, you know, some bullshit like that. So that's why they bleeped it out. It's not even a real thing. They made him an Instagram account and started making fun of people afterwards for even buying into this shit. And now there's these, if you go online and look at this, these people who, the Stop the Steal people believe that this Ruby Freeman person has been arrested by the FBI. They really believe this shit. It's not real. It's not a thing, you guys. It's unbelievable, but that's what's going on. The Proud Boys rally is coming to D.C. on January the 6th to help stop the steal, Brad. How do you feel about the Proud Boys rally and the possibility, the probability of violence in our nation's capital in just a couple of days?
Well, I have to be honest. This is what happens in Joe Biden's America.
Ever since he became president, you know, and I don't want to do this again because it's not even right and it's not even fair. But if there was audio of Barack Obama calling up some attorney general trying to say, you got to swing the state for Hillary Clinton. You got to find me 12,000 votes.
Right.
I mean, come on.
Well, I know. It's not even worth.
You can't even do it.
We know that. We know that the question going forward will be, will other presidents in the future use Trump's misbehavior and flouting of the law as a baseline to do similar things, or will they be more careful and steer clear of any behavior that even remotely resembles what Trump is doing? Isn't that really the question? Because what's going to happen? All these Republicans in particular who are going to want to try to grab the nomination in 2024 are going to position themselves, I think, all differently, but all similarly as I'm Trump without the behavioral problems. I'm Trump without the personal issues. I'm Trump without the narcissism. I'm Trump without the, right? That's what they're going to do. And that's
Trump without the idiot adult children who depend on me to be a gravy train. Yeah, I'll go with that.
I'm Trump without the financial ties to foreign countries, of which we have no proof that there is a connection between Donald Trump and foreign countries. But so that's what they're doing. So, of course, everything that Trump does and is doing would never be accepted by and it goes without saying that if a Democratic president behaved like this, that the Republican meltdown would be by a factor of 1,000 over what you're seeing the Democrats do. Because remember, Bill Clinton got impeached over lying about a blowjob. Okay,
exactly. Yeah.
So let's try to put that in perspective compared to what we've been experiencing the last 4 years. And Trump really did get impeached for something way more severe than that. He just didn't get convicted because of and it's another phrase. I wish I would have copyrighted this 4 years ago when I first started saying it. Collaboration Nation.
Yeah.
Because Collaboration Nation never abandoned him.
No.
They never ever did.
They still love him.
And you don't know why, and I really don't know why. We don't understand it. It makes no sense to us. And with 16 days to go, well, it's so close to the end now. We don't have to remember when it was a month and a half. You didn't know exactly how many days to go because you had to add the number. Now you know, because we know it's the 4th, and we can subtract 4 from 20.
We can get there. Yeah,
we've got that math nailed down.
We figured that one out.
Yeah.
So the Proud Boys rally coming up on the 6th. You have any high hopes for this one? Is this going to be anything?
No. This is Donald Trump being Hitler.
Yeah.
This is Donald Trump using, in effect, his stormtroopers to cause violence in the nation's capital. And it's nothing more. It's nothing less. That's what it is. They're doing it in his name and his name alone. And he's doing nothing to stop it. In fact, he's encouraging it. I mean, he sent out the tweets. He sent out the signals. Come to Washington. What does he say? It's going to be weird. It's going to be strange. It's going to be ugly. He sent out one. It was a one-liner tweet.
Mm-hmm.
It was a one-liner tweet a couple days ago that really gave tacit permission or encouragement to get violent and get ugly. And if I saw it correctly yesterday, they're going to dress up in black so that they look like what they think is the stereotypical Antifa type of person, so that they get blamed.
Oh, great.
The left gets blamed for what they're going to do. So that's dangerous stuff. It's stuff we haven't seen ever in this country, 230 years, and we've never seen it. Oh, by the way, can I speak on behalf of the Republicans right now? Ready?
Please do.
What about Barbara Boxer in 2004 with John Kerry? What about that? What about that?
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
That's absolutely the same.
The answer is it's not the same
thing. They both do it. They both sides have done it.
They don't both do it. It's not the same. And that was questioning the voter suppression tactics, the actual voter suppression tactics in Ohio at the time, which there were voter suppression tactics. They had themselves a gentleman named Ken Blackwell. Remember him?
I do remember that.
Remember
guy.
Ken Blackwell?
I do.
Yeah. He's one of those. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to use really inflammatory language to describe him. And the difference between then and now is that the defeated candidate at the time, John Kerry, conceded very quickly in 2004 to George W. Bush, and never once encouraged any members of Congress, any senators to object on his behalf. He did not support it. He certainly, as far as we know, Britt, although he may have done it, we don't know about. He may have called up the Secretary of State of Ohio and tried to pressure him.
Sure, that happened.
The votes.
Yeah, that's what happened.
That happened. We just don't have a video of it. We don't have an audio tape of it. But no, John Kerry and Donald Trump, not the same.
No.
Barbara Boxer and Ted Cruz, not the same.
Right.
So just stop that. Just stop that shit. And every once in a while they'll pull out. Well, what about 1876?
I'm so tired of that.
Right. That is so tedious. That is just so tedious.
I've seen a point by point refutation of that if you had to get down in the weeds on it. But yeah, it's nothing like 1876 by any means whatsoever. Speaking of rallies, the president headed to Dalton, Georgia for a big one tonight ahead of that Georgia Senate, that election that's coming up.
Isn't Dalton the carpet capital of the world?
That's the place. Dalton Carpets, massive place for this rally. It should be amazing. I don't know exact. The president should have a lot on his mind. I believe he's going to just bitch about Brad Raffensperger for probably 2 hours. I think that's probably going to be it.
This is where you underestimate Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
He is so disciplined. He is going to make an impassioned speech that will probably go in the top 10 of all time in American political oratory, laying out intelligently and with great evidence the need for those who haven't voted yet in Georgia to come out and support Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue in order to stop the undemocratic, dictatorial takeover of the federal government by Joe Biden. And he will be brilliant. He will be humorous. He will be empathetic. You will be shocked at how good Donald Trump is. I will continue to finish this bottle of gin I have over here.
I was going to say.
And pouring and drink. No, clearly this could be the all-time worst ever moment of Donald Trump at his rallies, because we know there's only one thing he's really thinking about. Does he give a shit whether 2 weeks from now, after he's gone, whether the Republicans control the Senate or not? He doesn't care. He's trying to stay out of jail. He wants another 4 years of get out of jail free. That's all that matters to him. And by extension, that umbrella of immunity has kind of been hanging over his kids. They haven't gone after them, have they? Not really. Not in any kind of meaningful way. But this minute he's not president anymore, all bets are off. And that's all he cares about. Nothing else. Zip, nada. Everything else is secondary. How many times have we said it's all about me? Well, this is it's all about me on a mountain of steroids that is immeasurable. That's all this is.
He also, by the way, in that recording from Raffensperger, he bitches about Brian Kemp, the governor of Georgia, nonstop. Donald Trump does, and about how he calls himself a schmuck at least twice for ever endorsing and trying to help out Brian Kemp. Would you help us with the literal Yiddish translation of the word schmuck?
Penis.
Penis is a dick. He calls himself a schmuck, I think maybe 3 times in reference.
That doesn't really mean that when you say it that way.
What does it mean?
You're just an asshole.
I was a dick forever endorsing Brian Kemp. I was an idiot. That's what he's saying essentially. I was such a schmuck. I was such a schmuck forever going and pitching for Brian Kemp.
Right.
That's what he's saying at least 2 or 3 times. You mentioned this earlier
about himself. He wasn't saying it about himself.
He was. No, he goes. I was such a schmuck. I don't know what I was thinking.
I'm changing it back. It only means penis.
He's calling himself. It's like the woman who can't believe that she ever dated that guy. That's what Donald Trump is doing in that call at least 2 or 3 times. I was such a schmuck for ever standing up for Brian Kemp. And he said, I'll tell you this, he'll never be able to run for anything ever again. I'll tell you that right now. You alluded to this earlier about people who are upset that the recording with Raffensperger has been released. You can put Senator David Perdue in that category. He's
oh my God.
He calls it disgusting that the recording was ever released. That's what David Perdue's problem is with the Raffensperger call with Donald Trump. It's disgusting that this has ever been released.
How dare Don Corleone have his privacy intruded on by Francis Ford Coppola so that we heard that Don Corleone was the godfather? How dare we find that? I mean, that's about as much sense as anything.
But you're right. I think this
Purdue is the definition of the empty suit, isn't he? Oh my God!
Oh, he's beyond.
Have you ever heard him say anything? Have you ever seen?
No.
Let's just pretend it's 3 months ago. It's 3 months ago. Up to that time, have you ever heard him speak in public? Ever?
I've never. No, I mean he's blank as a fart. Him and Tom Tillis, the newly reelected senator from North Carolina, they absolutely there's not a thought in that head.
I mean, he's never said anything even remotely memorable enough to become a soundbite ever, because he's such a toady. He's such a zero.
Yeah, no, he's such a backbencher. Yeah, I think you're right. The rally in Georgia could be
be it.
Off the charts and saying, he may just go excoriate the people, his guys to go out and just start shooting. I mean, that may be the deal. Just pull out your guns and start shooting. That may happen in Dalton, Georgia tonight from Donald Trump. He's just that insane. He's just that desperate. He's trying to stay out of jail. He's trying to stay in office. He's trying to keep the gravy train rolling for his idiot children who have no job skills whatsoever in the real world. So he may just tell them to go out and start blasting at some point.
I think he won't quite say it that way. He will say, as a good mob boss would, and he isn't even a good mob boss, by the way, right?
He's bad mob boss.
When you listen to him try to threaten.
I knew Sammy the Bull. I worked with Sammy the Bull. Sir, you are no Sammy the Bull.
He won't say, get your guns and come to Washington and start killing members of Congress that you don't like. But he will say, it must be stopped, whatever it takes, by all means necessary.
Sure.
We need to make sure that this election is not stolen from the American people, because everybody recognizes that I won and I won big, and they'll cheer for him. They'll go crazy.
Sure.
Right? Everybody knows, and it should not be allowed to be stolen, and we can't ever let this happen again. And that's why I'm standing up for you still. It doesn't matter what happened on November 3rd. That's not relevant. Don't believe that. Believe me. Right? Don't believe the news media. Believe me. This is just the ultimate extension of that.
I think. I mean, who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? I mean, that's the Donald Trump.
Right. Who you going to believe? Me or 60 different court cases that smack down every attempt to bring non-existent evidence.
On that note,
court.
On that note, Mark Elias, the expert, the Democratic election expert who works for those guys, he is on the Al Franken podcast, and it's worth 40 minutes of your time to listen to the arguments that he makes, because he's able to break it down in layman's terms. And he's also able to really put in perspective that one victory in Pennsylvania for the Trump legal team and how inconsequential and minuscule and minimal that one victory was for the Trump team, who just got served another one in a Wisconsin case, by the way. And that was one, I think, about Pence or something like that. So they've lost yet again in another case. They're racking up the losses, the big L's. Meanwhile, eyes on the prize. The polls in Georgia look pretty good, but that also may be scary because you want people to go out and vote. Early voting has been massive in this Georgia Senate runoff, or this Georgia Senate race to the election that's coming up. Do you have high hopes, Brad, for the Georgia Senate election coming up later this week and the results?
I do, but this is just like before November 3rd. Until it's over, you keep your foot on the gas.
Yeah, you do.
And you go 85 miles an hour. And I think that they're aware of that the organizers and the people on the ground and the door knocking and all those kind of things have been done pretty professionally there in Georgia. And, this gets to Trump's utter frustration over the fact that if the Democrats win both of those races, you're going to put another notch in the belt of Stacey Abrams, who, you want to talk about someone who changed the world and didn't even do it from high political office.
No.
But just did it out of sheer will.
Yeah.
It will be her. If she and she is she's the successor certainly to John Lewis in Georgia right now. It will be a stunning thing, and we're not going to know who won this on Tuesday. It's rather clear because they're going to have the same issue that they had on the presidential race, right? They don't start counting the ballots until election day, the mail-in ballots, correct?
Which is by law and by design by the Republicans, by the way.
Right. So Trump is clearly setting the predicate here to take all the kinds of grievances and arguments that he's used for his own race and apply it in the Georgia Senate races should the Democrats win.
Yep.
And what makes it even more exciting, interesting, sick, horrible, pick your word, is that the same cast is going to be performing this show, including the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, fresh off the phone call, the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp. And the one thing I'm pretty sure, and it's weird to say this, but they've made their beds on the side of we're going to run free and fair elections in Georgia to the best of our ability, and we are not going to be pressured or buffaloed by Donald Trump. They're not going to change now.
No.
There's no reason for them to change now. There's no reason for them to become as corrupt as Donald Trump himself is. They already decided they were not going to do that, and they're not going to do that now, which of course that will drive him that much crazier, right?
Right.
But he'll make the same arguments, but who knows what kind of crazy will come from that. He may call for an armed takeover of the state house in Georgia, right? What's the capital of Georgia? Atlanta?
It's Atlanta, yeah.
Right. I thought it was Frankfurt. I'm sorry.
No, it's Kentucky, obviously.
I guess neither you nor I can think of just how far down the scale he'll go, because we didn't expect 4 days ago to think that he would be on the phone for an hour trying to intimidate the same guy who has already said no to him over and over again. We didn't think that. But he's already said, come to Washington, Proud Boys. Come on, have a good time. And, I think the Joe Biden folks, very, very smart. They basically called off a large inauguration or parade.
They did, yeah.
They're done with that. That's
right.
Very, very, very smart. It's not necessary. Maybe it isn't even appropriate now in a country that is moving quickly towards 400,000 dead people from the coronavirus. And it's not time to party. It just isn't time to party. And the funny thing is, not funny, if Joe Biden did anything, if the Democrats did anything resembling a celebration, then they'd get attacked. Well, you're attacking us for having parties and without masks on and look at you, right? That's what they would do.
Of course.
It's best to just, it's just business.
That's all it is.
It's just business, and it's like a parliamentary system. One day one person's in the job, the next day the other person's in, and we don't have to have 8 inaugural balls to go to in the limo like they used to do.
We're gonna have to have all kind of bleach to just get rid of the insanity from that fucking Oval Office. I don't know even how long that's gonna take. Just have to scrub a dub and get all that shit out of there. The insanity that guy's been thrown against the walls for 4 years now. Holy crap.
Well, there has been a lot of bleach in there. It just wasn't used for the right things.
Oh yeah, they were putting it in their veins. I forgot.
Right. All right. Have we done enough damage for this opener for 2021?
It's all the damage we can do. I've emptied out my head.
Yeah. So they'll both be in Georgia on Monday.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised we didn't get a Barack Obama appearance.
I'm a little surprised too.
I know he put out a commercial. There's a commercial, and again, we're not seeing.
No.
We've always complained.
Yeah.
All of us, because we've lived in a battleground state now for many presidential cycles. Now, we've always complained about the volume of political commercials that populate, particularly television, the last month before an election. It must be by a factor of 10 in Georgia. Think of the money that's been spent in Georgia. I mean, if they've spent over $500 million each, well, I'm sorry. Georgia is the Atlanta market and hardly anything else. All the other markets are shit. So you can't spend that much money unless you do spend it. So apparently every commercial all day long, there's no room for the hilarious insurance ads.
Oh, come on.
There's no hilarious Geico ad, none locally bought there.
How do I know if Bud Light has a new seltzer flavor I might enjoy? I mean, how am I gonna find that out?
Right, and so it must be pretty obnoxious there. Well, I guess they get liberated as of
very soon,
as of Tuesday. All right, we will check back in with you the next time, starting on Tuesday. Okay.